And the cool thing here is that for a long time I had been making my own slide sets. And when you guys began doing it, and the quality was so much better, it just, enhanced everything. When the graphics are better, then everybody in the room's happier. You know, when there's surprising moving elements in the graphics, and so on. Yeah. So, of course, having skills with slides doesn't prove you have any skills at all with posters, but it's kind of similar. I think even if the two of you have never done anything with posters, you would still have some good ideas. So that was kind of my, yeah. So I wanted to start with something else, and that is celebrating. And like this graphic behind me is called Celebrating Together, and it's pre-pandemic. You can tell that. So why should we celebrate Pam getting medical school interviews? So all I can tell you, and this isn't causality at all, it's not proof of anything, but like I've been associated with a lot of students who have had medical school interviews. And some of those accidentally we celebrated that fact, and others we didn't. But every time we celebrated them getting an interview, they actually got into medical school. So no, no exception. So I think that's one reason to celebrate. And the other thing that's kind of funny that's been occurring, you may wonder, probably the history of me writing recommendation letters is extremely boring. No one would want to hear that. But the Ontario-centric nature of my success, it's like amazing. So many times people apply to the U of A and to Ontario schools, and I write letters, and they get into Ontario schools, including the U of T, and they don't get in here. I don't know why. But anyway, it's sort of fun. Like I'm underappreciated in my own city. And a letter here, oh, just another letter from Kim Solez. Whereas with an Ontario medical school, they say, "Oh my God, this person has a Kim Solez letter. Look at that." You know. Anyway, it's just one of those fun facts. And the other thing has to do with David Foley. You're going to say, who is that? But David Foley is a part of the group that's helping me with the Controversies Conference, but he's also the program chair for the Cutting Edge of Transplantation meeting. And that fact is very public. So what we can feel today is that we owe gratitude to David Foley because he did something brave. We put together this, eclectic, very unusual and multifaceted poster text. And, I'm not sure to what extent he had to fight with others who were saying, we can't have this. But anyway, he obviously finally approved it. And yeah, and what was fun was the approval date seems to have been a day late. Like maybe they spent some days wrestling with this question of whether this unusual Habba Mahal, Kim Solez poster, what are we going to do with it? Because logically they should have made the decision before the closing date on the housing, which was the 19th, right? But they didn't. We can imagine that the words that Habba and I put together, that they wrestled with those for the entire weekend before deciding what the heck to do. We'll never know that, but it's kind of cool to think about that. then the other thing has to do with what Habba and I are going to do at the meeting before the meeting starts, right? So wouldn't it be boring if we like talk to each other about, I wonder what questions people are going to ask us and how we should answer them? No, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to meet a lot of interesting people there because it's reading week, right? And their kids have off school. And what kind of people are Habba and I going to meet? We're going to meet people approximately your parents' age, right, who have kids in college, because those are the people whose kids are freed during this week in February. And it's with them that we're going to get this ferment of ideas and I think that's much more fun than we think just Habba and me talk, talking to each other endlessly about the poster. No, I think we'll meet people who will spontaneously want to talk about it. And yeah, so in that way, you're and I think the other thing is, if you want to say from a conformity point of view, why does this poster fail every conformity test, right? Well, it's going in so many different directions, right? We have the jargon issue, and we have my son, the classics professor, and the classics interest in pigs, all sorts of things. There are like 4 or 5 different threads there, all going in different directions, some of them very surprising and interesting. So that's why if you're really into conformity, you would give this poster a failing grade. It would never get any on any program, right? So what does that mean though? It means that the conversations Habba and I have could contribute to really a lot of subsequent papers, consequential things, well-crafted papers that are only like mainly about one thing at a time. So there could be a paper about medical jargon and how curing that problem will, save the world, because now everybody with a cell phone will have high quality medical information that they can understand. And, other things about what kind of pigs we're going to use and how to keep things simple and so on. There could be a whole lot of different papers that could come out of this. So it's kind of like, if you remember the teaching session with Rich Sutton recently, I, I don't know how many of you were there or watched it. The most surprising thing was how enthusiastic he is about really robust wild environments, like the Amazon rainforest or a coral reef, right? So that's what this poster that you're helping me with is kind of like, right? One of these rich environments going every which way, and yeah. So I think it will be a task unlike anything you've ever done before, maybe, right? But it, and it also mixes up the idea of like who should do what, right? Why should there be any rules really about who should do what? Like when I was talking with Sukhi today about why I blind CC'd her, I just said, well, I thought you might be interested. And she's here. So I mean, I guess I was right. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, that's my monologue beginning, and I'm sorry. I just find this a very happy moment. I like things like this where accidentally things come together and so on. Yeah. Okay. So any questions about what I just said, or Sound completely crazy to you? Yeah. So how should we do this? Is subprint the wrong place to go? Do only dumb people get their posters printed at subprint, and all the smart people get them printed somewhere else that I never heard of? I was thinking maybe that's the deal. So tell me whether that is the deal.
I think Subprint prints a lot of people's like poster presentations, so easy spot and it's accessible for all of us. So that's a good place to go with.
Okay. Yeah, and my dealings back in 2018, they seem very reasonable to deal with, and I'm sure this issue or the exact size of 4 feet by 6 feet, we're not going to be the first person to ever ask them for that. And I think they'll probably have a way of doing it, you know? So yeah. Anyway. Okay. So I like the plan that you put together. I think there could be shortcuts, right? And the shortcuts would be if you create something so astoundingly beautiful, right? Like, I would say, how could anyone object to this? That then that requires less back and forth, but probably there will be back and forth because of the unsatisfactory nature of the graphics that I've chosen, right? One of the things that's kind of undefined is what the caption of the graphics would be and exactly where it fits with the rest of the things. But I think you might want to have an input on that, right? Like, let's take the lipstick on a pig graphic, which is maybe new to you. Um, I think we need that because otherwise we have too few graphics. But also, don't we want to kind of take a stand that we accept a wide range of thoughts about pig to human transplants? We understand that some people would like violently object to the very idea of that. You know, one thing that's very cool in the Controversies Conference is how polite Sid Johnson and I are to each other. She's this charming middle-aged woman who seems like she doesn't have a mean bone in her body, but when she writes a paper, she says, "You must stop this idea of pig to human transplants right now. Shouldn't go any further." So, in as a paper author, she's scary as heck, but when you meet her in person, one of the nicest people you've ever met. She may feel the same about me, that you know, she regarded me as a very scary figure out there, but you know, then I come in with this funny graphic with all the balloons and people cheering. Yeah, it's hard to be mad at somebody like that. So, yeah, they're just a lot of fun things. So, in a way, the lipstick on a pig means don't get too angry about this. You know, don't get too polarized about it. Let's keep it light. Keep a sense of humor about some of the issues that people may not, you know, agree on. And so that's what and so I think part of your creativity is deciding what kind of caption you want to give that, right? I think that if I do all the writing, it's gonna look like it was written by a machine, right? They'll say, aha, 2024, that's when everybody went to Chat GPT and got to do their stuff. I bet that poster was entirely done by Chat GPT, right? Yeah. And of course, the cool thing is, as of today, we can do a much better poster than Chat GPT can. Amongst all of us, I'm not saying any one of us could, but amongst the 6 of us, we can definitely blow Chat GPT out of the water, man. So yeah, so we don't have to worry that in the long run, people will realize from the high quality of the poster that it can't possibly be a product from Chat GPT. It has to be from us. Yeah. So anyway, that's the deal. Yeah, so I think I should probably pipe down and be quiet now and let you guys proceed with practical planning, eh?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, thank you guys for agreeing to kind of step in and do this as a team. I made a quick little meeting agenda so we can kind of all quickly follow it. I'll just put it in the chat. And it might be easier if I share my screen.
Sure.
Hold on.
Yep.
Okay. Just put this up first. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Awesome. So, in terms of the group, so I know Habba actually could step in here, but we'll be coming to you and Dr. Solez to just get some feedback after we've designed things. Did you have anything to kind of say or add about the poster? Any ideas?
Um, not really at this point. I'm excited to see what comes up. Yeah, I don't have too much to say, I don't think currently.
Perfect. Yeah, and I know Hana and Zeyad, you two have agreed to help design things, but I don't know if Suki's still here. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Suki, would you like to join in?
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to help however I can.
Awesome. Okay, so again, the deadline's February 15th, and Dr. Solez has already sent kind of all the information that needs to go on the poster. In terms of the method, I was thinking that I selected a platform which is Adobe Illustrator, just to make sure that the resolution would be high. But I was thinking of maybe putting everything that needs to be on the poster on, and then each of us can kind of take our turn to kind of adjust the layout, kind of see what we like, and then go from there. Is there anyone who excels at graphic design here? Ziyad, Hana, Sukhi, if you want to take the lead on the design component.
Like, I don't mind. I mean, all 3 of us can kind of collaborate on it. Like, I think we would divide the workload anyway, but I don't know if you had anything like in mind, if you wanted like one person to work on that, like, if you had anything like you had in mind for that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think we can all just kind of go back and forth and make comments and see what looks good together. Yeah, so we'll kind of take that approach. Okay, so the next thing is that the poster information, as Dr. Sola says, 6 feet wide, 4 feet high. We'll be going with subprint, and yeah, Dr. Sola says we'll be getting 2 copies, so one for him and one for Habba. And this is again like a nice sample poster he sent. So just to actually ask you right now, Dr. Solez, do you want the exact same words just pasted onto the poster, or do you have any adjustments made to the submission or anything like that?
So, they haven't defined whether we have to use exactly the same words as what we submitted. I think we can improve on the wording as far as I can tell, and enhance things in any way that we want. That's how it would usually work. Usually, the abstract is a lot shorter than the final paper. So here, the poster abstract sort of was the main text. So it's an unusual situation. but I still think that it's likely with this many talented humans looking at the thing that there will be ways to improve the text or make it easier to understand. And like I don't want to mess with the elements. It's kind of cool to describe, but there are recommendation letters that I wrote for Habba and for Abrar, the first and second author, to get them to be trainee members of the AST. And so the elements that I claim that they were responsible for, we probably shouldn't remove it because that people will say, well, this is not a valid letter because look, that thing's not even in there. Yeah, so the things that I said Habba did was the QR code and then hiding the URLs, so there are no bare URLs. So they're sort of hidden under the words they modify in the QR code version of the poster. But now that contains elements that an actual printed poster can't have, right? So you want to decide then how much additional sort of adding to the printed text from what is in the kind of hot text in the QR code version, the online version. You could try it without doing any of that. If people say, well, there's something missing, we'll say, well, you haven't gone to the QR code. What's wrong with you? Go to the QR code, like it says, and then they'll see all these extra things, right? So you, one of the things that Abrar pointed out is we can't rely on people clicking on those areas for really crucial things, like the former dean of science, what he actually said. You don't want to leave people completely puzzled about that if they have a religious objection to clicking on hot links, right? Then they would never see what the dean of science said about jargon, right? So if there are other things like that, we should probably put them in so they're obvious from the printed text. But I don't know that there are. Maybe, you know, Abrar and Habba identified all the things that needed really major alteration, but that's up to you. You know, see what other things you find puzzling or hard to understand or just sounding like dumb text. Should be smarter text. Give us smarter text, Dr. Solez. Where'd all this dumb text come from? Yeah. So anyway, no, I think that's sort of up to you. I would not advise you to all go to Sid Johnson and say, hey, Sid, you want to help us fix this poster? We think it doesn't sufficiently contain your idea that we must never, ever, ever do anything further about pig to human transplant. Yeah. So I don't want you to do that. I guess that's the one thing. Any other step you wish to take is probably fair game.
Perfect. Yeah, so looks like we have a lot of freedom here, so that helps. Not too many restrictions. And in terms of color schemes and stuff, I like the color scheme that the conference is going for, so I just kind of pasted in here, but we can come up with a color scheme altogether. So what I'll start off with doing is I'll kind of add all the information, images into a poster on, oh my goodness, what platform? Oh, Adobe Illustrator with the correct dimensions. And then I think you all will could possibly be able to edit it under my subscription, but if not, I'll manage and figure out a way to give you all access. And I'll create an email chain for that once I've finished doing that. We can go around in a quick circle and confirm everyone's good with the plan so far. So we'll start with Hana. Are you feeling okay about it? Perfect. And Zeyad? Awesome.
Good.
Sukhi, you're good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Perfect. Okay, and then Dr. Solez and Habba, you can go ahead and wrap it up. Leave us with any words of wisdom before we get started.
Yeah, I just think that probably Elon Musk is wrong about many things, right? But one thing he may be right about is if we live in a simulation, then the most entertaining outcome is the most likely. So maybe what you're working on here is making this kind of the most effective gameplay, right? So if there's some super intelligent being who's using our world as their game, that this poster would be one of the highlights of the game, right? Favorite parts, yeah. So maybe that's what you're creating together. Yeah. So yeah, I don't have much else, and I don't. I also think that we, preparing for your interviews, a lot, not just doing stuff, but just the psychology of it, right? Feeling confident going in there, right? And it's hard to determine really what makes for that. But I have a feeling that lightly working on this, Pram, not really doing all the work yourself or feeling burdened by it, but just sort of doing enough of it that you feel happy with the way the progress is being made could actually help you perform better at the interview, and have the person sitting across from you, or the people, feeling that it's really cool that your life is so in balance, and that you're this happy, balanced, multifaceted person, exactly what we want a physician of the future to be, and yeah. So I think in some way working on this, but not so it becomes a burden or an albatross or something, but just enough to kind of be fun the way other productive activities are, could probably actually help you with the interview. So, anyway, that's my my theory of things. Yeah. Okay, and anything else we need to talk about? I'm just very grateful to you guys for your enthusiasm. And I constantly find myself in the course of my 51-year career explaining to people why I've surrounded myself by young people my whole career. It's an unusual thing to do, right? And you have to realize I would never have done that if my mentor at the time didn't think that having somebody in their PGY 1 year take Oberlin College students and be training them at the same time that I was being trained in, the beginning essence of, like, pathology was just the coolest thing ever, that nobody had ever done anything like that. And he thought I should continue doing it. And in essence, I have, continued doing that. And it certainly gives me a different view of the world, than I would have had if I've just always hung out with people my own age and had this prejudice against young people that haven't been alive on earth long enough to really have anything interesting to say and completely boring to talk to and stuff. Yeah, whereas I found exactly the opposite. So this experience with you guys tonight is kind of a grand extension of that. Doesn't necessarily prove that my way of life is right and other people are wrong. It does prove that my way of life has some advantages, I think. So anyway, yep. Okay, well, thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing the products of your labors. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Good night.